But Hockey Canada has been in the forefront here. The federal government announced that it was pausing funding after they subpoenaed outgoing CEO Tom Rennie and new President Scott Smith about a allegation from June 2018 of a sexual assault involving 8 CHL players. And then now the sponsors have stepped in. Scotiabank announced this morning that they are freezing funding at this point, and Canadian Tire also announced today that they are freezing funding as well.
Mm-hmm.
There's more subpoenas, and there's going to be more on this on July 26th and 27th.
Don't forget the government of Canada has frozen its funding for Hockey
Yeah,
Canada as well until there's some conditions met.
Yeah, mention that as well. I did.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just
So just to go back to the testimony from last Monday, that was not a good look for Hockey Canada. Not very confusing testimony. Very very shocking how unprepared they came across. And I mean, the fact that this isn't the first allegation. There was a couple of other allegations that were at play, and that they didn't ask every single player on that team to testify. Just
Yeah, I think
that really is bothersome.
Yeah, to me, that's the real black eye about this, is the fact that they made it optional for players on that team to contribute to this. To me, I would have said every player that was on that roster has to come in and answer questions, and depending on their answers, it might or might not get used in the testimony. But like, everyone should have to at least come in and answer questions.
Just the whole thing from the start has to look like they didn't take this very seriously.
Yeah, they half-assed it.
One, not compelling the players to testify, and right. So I mean, it's kind of a shoddy investigation in that regard, just at that part of it. But then, Kevin, you talk about them not being prepared to answer the questions in front of that parliamentary committee or whatever hearing that was. How could they be prepared? I mean, they reached a settlement, so I mean, they're kind of like, they really got themselves a mess now once they decide to settle the case out of court. That makes an already shoddy investigation and suspicious story look even worse.
I know this term probably gets thrown around a lot and maybe overused, but they kind of come across entitled. They assume that they're going to get off scot-free because they're Hockey Canada. They're an institution in this country. And they just thought, you know what? We're Hockey Canada. Everyone loves to, basically put their boxing week on pause to watch their product. And everyone loves them. They, happy to give their money to them and that sort of thing. And they just assumed that train was going to keep on rolling. And obviously, they are now finding out that is not the case.
Yeah, I think, to me, though, for me, the fact that Rennie and Smith were not even on the same page. I mean, one said that 6 testified, the other said that 6 didn't testify. They just, I mean, there's a thing called an agenda here. Just saying, get yourself at least on the same page there. They looked so unprofessional. It looked like a clown show. That was embarrassing. But I think ultimately the federal government freezing funding on them, that's 6% of the funding that they get. That really, ultimately, even though it's a good chunk of change, it's like $7 million. I think that the fact that Scotiabank and Canadian Tire have stepped in and said, you know what, we're freezing funding as well. I think this is where the real message is going to get through.
Yes.
They are not small sponsors. They put up big money.
And across the sport too, right? I mean, like, Canadian Tire is not just a sponsor of Hockey Canada, and same as Scotiabank, but I mean, they're heavily invested in professional hockey as well, and so those are that was very attention grabbing today, certainly to find out that was going to happen. So there will be meaningful changes. It's just a matter of how quickly they get put in.